All right, guys. So here we are today with Isaac Martinez. He is an amazing client of ours, and one of the, I think one of the really the we call him the rockstar client because really he's been able to close so many deals by himself and do the whole process from going out, meeting those merchants, finding who they are in the first place, meeting them, building a relationship with them, and of course, ultimately signing them up for merchant services. So thank you for your time, Isaac, for hopping on. And I think today we just want to ask you a couple of questions about your unique process for going about and dealing with both lead generation as well as, of course, closing and signing up those merchants. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions before we get going?
No, no. I actually, thanks for having me on here, Aaron. It's a privilege. I'd be more than happy to share my experience and perhaps help you folks get started in doing this. Don't be afraid to start by yourself. Don't be afraid. We give a lot of training, and that's what I use to go out there. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and then so for full disclosure, Isaac does now work with us as a consultant. He really enjoyed the experience that he had with us so much that he wanted to actually make an impact and help other people do the same thing. And that's why he's a perfect person to kind of talk about this, because not only has he been from a client of ours in terms of signing up for our program, but also now he's on our team, and also now is helping other people be educated about our program and how they can build their own merchant services business. So let's start off with the first piece here, which is before we get into the details of your process, let's just start from the very beginning, which is, how many active accounts do you have right now in terms of credit card devices in merchant stores? And then how many are you looking to have in the next, let's say, 3 or 6 months?
It's a good question. So currently I have 12 active accounts that I acquired locally, and I'm currently working on another 12. There's a lot on the pipeline, and it's just a matter of time before we follow up and come to an agreement.
Amazing. Yeah, 12. That's that's huge. So I guess we'll just start from the very beginning, man. Like, I walk us through your process. How do you even, start thinking about what merchant stores to contact or reach out to? And just start from the very beginning of like actually prospecting, identifying locations.
Yeah, I'd love to dive deep into this. So ultimately, I kind of knew what I wanted to get into. I knew what I was signing up for one. And I was aware of the potential that this business had and giving me my freedom back, right? Getting me out of that post office job. To me, that meant everything. And I was willing to learn anything and dedicate as much time as possible towards that goal. So I made a radical decision, and not a very popular one, but I quit my job, right? That's a pretty bold move. Most people advise against it, but my wife and I, we were desperate. We were like, you know what? Let's go and do this. So yes, I quit my job. I gave my 2 weeks notice, and I said, okay, I burned the boats. There's no going back here. It's time to start square one.
Yeah.
So my little area, I live on the outskirts, Las Vegas, but in my area, I knew that, okay, this is a good place to start. Of course, I was already watching the videos, the programs, the training. It was just time for me to pull the trigger. I said, I'm learning all this stuff. Let's go put it to practice. So I went to my first business. I believe it was my first business I walked into was a little tamale place, to be honest. You won't think much of it, right? But you walk in and you nervously introduce yourself. I just listened to what John was telling me. Hey, just go in there and introduce yourself. Be a professional. Answer their questions and tell them what you do. Simple, right? Walk
Yeah.
in. I was shaking, physically shaking, right? I think they might have think, is there something wrong with you, or do you need a tamale? Do you need something to eat? But long story short, they were overly nice. Of course, I introduced myself. I gave them a flyer. I gave them information, and we had a conversation, right? Yeah, I ordered some food. I was hungry. Long story short, I came back next week, and they wanted to talk business. They wanted to see, hey, let's dive deep. Let's look at the processing statement. Let's get started. I'm not going to charge you anything. All I know is that you're going to save X amount every single day, every single week, every single month. This is going to help you save your revenue. So it started there, really. Um, I remember driving by a big billboard. It's an
Yeah.
auto mechanic shop. Most people are scared, right? It's big business. I
Yeah.
walk in there. I did the same thing. Spoke directly to the owner, build a relationship, followed up for a few weeks. That was my second account.
Let's dive a little deeper on just kind of the initial steps. I'm sure people, and for people, if I didn't mention this earlier, Isaac is very unique and special in our client list because he actually goes out there and prospects and finds and closes his own locations. Obviously, we do that for you as part of our book appointment service. But he just is one of those self starters that's going to proactively put that training that we have to use and not, wait for us to hand him appointments, but go out and generate his own business. And so that's why, it's obviously super impressive. But I think people will want to know, specifically speaking, when you go walk into those stores for the first time, you didn't call, you didn't try to identify a prospect. Really, you just kind of just drove around your local area, saw some local stores, right? Or like, hey, let me just go in and talk to the owner. What did you say to them? What were some specific examples or scripts or things that you said to that person? If somebody was watching this right now, they're like, I'm scared to go walk into those stores. I don't know what to say.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Just let's say I walk in the store and you won't know if you're talking to the owner or not. You just don't know. But sometimes I speak as though I'm speaking to the owner, even though it's not. And they either really, really like it and they tell you who the owner, where the owner is, or it happens to be the owner. And oh, great, I'm talking to the right person. So I walk in. Uh, are you the owner or manager by any chance? No, why? Or yeah, I am. Awesome. Yeah. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Martinez, and I actually do merchant services in the area. I noticed you got a square. Are you aware of how much you're paying in? Are you aware of how much you're losing in revenue just by having that machine?
Mm.
Or I ask it a different way. People are not used to being asked these type of questions, but I kind of like make them a little uncomfortable first. So, and it sparks their it sparks their interest. Like, no, I don't know, Isaac. I'm not sure. You want to talk to the manager, or actually, I am aware. I'm paying 3.5%. I'm paying 3%. I said, you don't have to anymore. Special thing about me is I actually eliminate processing fees,
Mm.
and then that's where it starts.
Got it. And that's enough to kind of hook their attention. And then from there on, you will either kind of go right into the conversation there and then, or if they're busy, you set an appointment to come back in and follow up. Or kind of how do you take, what's the next step in that process?
Oh, that's right, Aaron. That actually starts the follow-up process. And if one thing that we all must keep in mind is that it's all a part of the process. And this opportunity, the first time I meet them, I have a chance to actually answer their objections right then and there, right? What I was told, right, based on our training, is that the more objections they give you, the closer you are to getting to that agreement, right? And that's what it's all about, right? By them saying no, they're going to say no probably a few times. In fact, my biggest deals, they said no to me many more times,
Mm.
right? So that's pretty interesting. But the first no, you're getting closer, right? And as you develop in your merchant services career, know that you'll be better equipped to answer those no's and really get to the bottom of it.
Right. So it's almost like every no is simply means you're closer to a yes.
Yes, sir.
And that mentality is huge, right? Imagine if somebody would actually really, really embrace that mindset and understand it's actually not a bad thing. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not a bad thing. Actually, it's a good thing because if they really had wanted nothing to do with you, they wouldn't even have that conversation with you. So the mere fact that they're actually asking you questions, or even just being doubtful or nervous about who you are, what you do, what you can do for them, are you real or are you not? These are all actually good signs that they're actually actively considering you as a real option. So these aren't things to be discouraged by. In fact, they're the opposite. They're things to be encouraged by.
Exactly. And, just by them saying no, you have to do it again and again. You have to get used to being told no. You can't just go in there in your first business, your second or third, and be like, you know what, Aaron, I'm done. I just can't do this. You have to get comfortable at being told no, because there's a reason why they're telling you no. It's either something they don't know about that you can actually help them, right? You can actually give them that knowledge or that information that they need to say yes.
Right, right. What are some, I know people watching this are probably taking notes and trying to figure out, okay, what can I learn from this interview? What are some specific maybe examples or scripts, or again, just kind of go back to the earlier question, what are some more specific things you could teach and kind of, our audience about how to progress to the next step? So let's say you walk in, you have their interest now because you've introduced yourself, told them what you do, told them what you can do for them. And then typically at that point, what is kind of your next go-to move?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So let's say after the initial visit, and speaking of scripts, I don't do scripts. I only know about the objections. I understand why they're asking, and I understand the rebuttal. So, for example, I don't feel comfortable, Isaac, charging 4% of my customers.
Yeah.
They know me for my low prices. So what am I gonna do?
Mhm.
And that's a very common objection. In fact, a lot of my business owners said that first, but after a few months of them signing up with me, they are actually reaping the benefits of all the savings. And not just that, but none of their customers left them. They're still in business. And the whole point of it is to help you stay in business, right? How long have you been in business, Mr. Seller? Uh, I've been in business since 2010. Yeah, that's a long time. So by you changing your systems so you can save more money, so you can stay in business, customers understand that. They want you to stay in business. How important are you to your community? I think that's a good question. Think
Mhm.
about it. And here's the cool thing about me, Mr. Seller. I don't do contracts. I'm not going to charge you for the terminal. I actually believe in you, and I like this neighborhood. And you give me a chance, it'll be worth it. Give me a
Mhm.
couple months. I don't know. All right, fine, let's try it. Now they're going to be skeptical, but you've earned the deal.
Yeah.
So that's just one of many scenarios.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I love how you walk through that. So to summarize that up, it's almost, you're kind of using that advantage of, hey, I'm in person, I'm right in front of you, I even live in the area. So if there's something that goes wrong, you know who to call, you know how to reach me. I can be literally in your store within the day, same day. And I just want a chance. Right? I'm not asking for a long-term commitment. I'm not asking for marriage. I'm asking for a date and see how it goes, right? And really, that's kind of that mentality there is just put so much less pressure on both you and the store owner to have to sign up for something new. And obviously, we all know most people get comfortable and they kind of want to do what they're used to doing. And so there's always that inertia that you have to almost overcome just to get them to even make a decision, let alone actually like go through the process and sign the deal. So I think that's a really powerful frame of looking at it. What is kind of another common scenario or objection you might encounter based on your personal experience?
So there are some objections that I just can't do anything about. You may encounter this. I've been with the process for years. They're a family friend, uncle, cousin, aunt. You know, I, I don't want to betray them. I'm a loyal and okay, I understand. There's nothing I can do there. But at least you know that if you ever change your mind, of course, just so you know, I can actually save you a lot more money. But some objections you can't do much about, right?
Or it could be, maybe, hey, that's totally understand that, totally get and respect that. Is there anybody else that you might know in the area that might be a good fit for at least trying this out?
Bingo. And that's a very good avenue to address this type of objection, even though they may not need it on their own, which is brilliant, Aaron. In fact, that's even happened, right? For those who don't want to go with me, right, with their services, they have a friend who may need our service. So if it's dead in there, there's a referral down the corner.
Yeah, and so it's important to remember that you're not dealing with people in the vacuum here. This is not you're calling people up on the phone cold and they know who you are and where you live and what you do, and it's like you're in person right there, like living, breathing, in person right there in the neighborhood.
You
And
can't beat that.
what?
Yeah.
There's other businesses in that same neighborhood. There's businesses a block, 2 blocks, 5 blocks, 10 blocks away that they probably either are aware of or at the very least, I mean, they're definitely aware of, but maybe even know the owner or have frequent those stores themselves and are patrons and fans and want to support that store. And they might have a personal relationship with other business owners because we all know that a lot of local business owners know each other. And they'll kind of participate in that local business community. So I think that it's always like if that person maybe is not ready yet because of whatever reason, there's always a great opportunity there to ask for a referral to somebody that they do know.
Absolutely. You just never know, right? So when you're going out there, be open to any possibility. Be open to anything, right? Ask questions and dedicate the time that's needed to grow and get better, right? The biggest part about how this worked out for me, guys, was not cold calling. It was not emailing. It was putting the time in to going out there and building relationships one at a time in my local community. Dedicate your time to do that, and you will see results.
That's huge. That's huge. What other, let's say, so that we've walked through a couple of scenarios now, what's another maybe, let's kind of walk through the follow-up process, right? Maybe let's say they you come in, they're like, hey, nice to meet you, but honestly, we're super busy right now, and I'd love to talk to you about this, but we can't do it right now. Like, how do you manage that follow-up? Like, how many days do you wait? Like, do you typically call first before coming back? Do you just show up again? Like, do you make an appointment? Like, kind of what is your follow-up process?
Uh, Love to get into it. So I'll just talk about my most recent account with a local liquor store. One of my biggest accounts so far in my portfolio. These guys are killer, right? They're making over 150,000 in revenue per month, and I'm receiving probably 8 to 1,200 a month from them easy.
Yeah.
However, it took me several weeks, okay? It took me like 3 to 4 weeks to nurture that relationship, right? From the initial visit, right? They gave me every objection you can think of. Oh, my cousin has the processor. Oh, I'm not comfortable. They gave me everything in the book. And I just like, all right. I backed off for a week or two. Literally. I didn't even think about it. I came back not expecting a thing, but as a mere customer wanting to buy some liquor. And man, they have some pretty good bourbon, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh man, they got everything. But yeah, I just went in as a customer. Didn't even think about the man, but he remembered me. Oh, hey, Isaac. And I wasn't wearing, any cool clothes. I was wearing my house clothes. I'm just chilling, lounging, flip flops, right? I'm over here getting some bourbon, whatever. But yeah, he's like, hey, Isaac, by the way, you mentioned about the credit card processing statement. Let me get that for you. And I'm like, did this just happen? So, I was jumping up with excitement, of course, but I'm like, hey, sir, hey, yeah, definitely. I'll be here. When should I come back? Today, tomorrow. I'll have it for you by tomorrow. Just be here. Sounds like a plan. See you then. Thanks for the bourbon.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end. They showed me the processing statement, and we're in business.
Now, when that happens, how do you utilize John and the support you guys get from, or all of our clients get from Robotics? Like, what role has he played? Has that been helpful? Just kind of walk us through that.
Helpful is an understatement, Aaron. Without these guys, none of this would be possible. I've called them literally every other day. The Paybotics team has been instrumental. Jordan's been coming in clutch. Every single appointment I came across, I call that man every other day. I had to call John every other day. I literally leverage, if not, I took full advantage of every tool I could possibly have. And I may have bugged them for the first, few months. Like, I didn't even have to introduce myself at this point. It's like they know it's me. Oh, hey.
They know your number by heart at this point.
They know my number, they know my voice. They're like,
yeah.
Hey, Isaac needs something. Just tell the man what he needs to know.
Yeah.
So I use them all the time. They're one of a kind, and I encourage everyone on here to explore, right? Check out the office, meet the team. They're great people, and they're only here to help you be successful in your business.
Can you walk through a specific example of maybe one time where you called, let's say, John, and he really was kind of that missing link, where he really helped you close that deal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, so I was stuck in a pickle, right? I was on my way to a follow-up appointment, and there was a very interesting. It was a question I just could not answer. For example, they had a very specific technical question, and they had an objection, like, "Hey, I don't know how. I can't justify me charging the customer an extra 4%. That's just wrong, Isaac. That's just wrong." Okay, I don't know what to say to this. I called John. I'm like, John, help me out. What do I say about this? He's like, Isaac, you need to know that customers use credit cards. Why? Because credit cards give cash back and they have points and perks. You let Mr. Seller know this. The credit cards actually allows them to redeem the points that's being charged. In other words, they're not really being charged extra. They're receiving the benefits of the cash back rewards and the points and everything their credit card provides. So you don't have to feel bad.
Yeah.
Tell them. And I did. It changed the perspective, and they ended up wanting to work with me. I mean, that was one of many examples.
Yeah, yeah. Just that one. It's just one of those things where you always want to learn from somebody who's already done it hundreds or even thousands of times before. They know exactly what they've heard that objection probably literally thousands of times at this point from other store owners, and so they know exactly what to say and how to overcome that. And also also what you said there about really taking advantage of every possible resource that we offer in the program. Right? There's people come in and say, oh yeah, I signed up for the program. And some people just, it's not any of their fault. They're busy. Obviously they really enjoy the location finding service aspect of it, having a booked appointment. And, sometimes the expectation is I'll walk in and I'll just sign them up on the spot. And that does happen from time to time. But the reality is, again, ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you taking ownership of to prepare yourself for success, right? Are you going through the membership site and watching the trainings and taking notes and really practicing those role play questions? Are you going to the weekly live trainings from John in the client's Facebook group and asking him Q&A questions, or just simply listening to what he says and taking notes? Are you calling and booking sales support meetings with John about how to handle a specific merchant or specific situation, specific question or objection? Are you even maybe calling John and telling him, hey, I'm going to see a merchant tomorrow. Would I be able to call you right when I'm there? And in case that person has a question for me that I can't answer, can I put them on the phone with you? Right? These are all things that I just have to really think about and say, if I have these resources available to me, then who's really responsible for whether I take advantage of them or not? Right? Ultimately, who's responsible for my success? And of course, the answer is always the person looking in the mirror, which is you. Right? So
You, yeah. Yeah, it's an incredible point, Aaron. And again, it goes right back to you, right? We just help you make it possible, right? We help you accelerate what you already have. Do you have 2 to 3 hours a week? If you don't, how is it going to help, right? So we're here for your success. This is why we have all the trainings. And I tell you what, Aaron, if I didn't look at any of that stuff, I wouldn't even know how to talk to these owners. I wouldn't be going out there with the confidence to go and speak to a business owner across the street from me.
Yeah. And we'll finish up with this one last question here, then we'll leave it open to any other parting thoughts you might have. Last question for you is, imagine the person watching this, imagine that person is just starting out. They are nervous, they don't have any sales experience, never really even walked into a store and talked to the owner maybe. And what would you say to that person to really help them overcome that anxiety, overcome that fear, that first kind of, experience of going into the store, talking to the owner, answering questions, following up, and ultimately trying to close that deal? That first time, right? It's always the hardest. After that, you kind of understand how it goes. You feel that sense of like relief that, oh, I've actually went through it now, and so I can do this again and again and again. It might not always work or close, but I at least understand the process and know what to expect. But that first time, right? If you put yourself in the shoes of when you first did it the first time, what are some pieces of advice you would give that person who's really trying to just jump into this, the first time?
Oh, that's a good question. So you're brand new, no experience at all, terrified like I was. First and foremost, do your homework. The more you know about who you're going to see, the more prepared you'll be despite the anxiety, right? So you know a little bit about what the cash discount program is. That helps, right? That really does help. Um, be sure of that before you walk in. So know the fundamentals. Watch a video or two, then go in, right? You don't have to go in knowing everything. That's not what this is about. You will not know everything. You just have to start. And it's not going to be perfect. It may feel uncomfortable, but that's the beginning to your success. Pick any business, big, small. They're all the same to me. They're people, right? They have a different process. You can talk directly to the owner. One may have a gatekeeper, which I don't want to get too complicated there, but pick something and go for it. As Paul talks about all the time, imperfect action is better than no action. And nothing stuck in my head longer than that. And that's what kind of helped me drive and go to each and every single appointment, no matter how prepared I felt. I went in and made the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that mindset. Just try it. You're not going to be stellar, but it's a start.
Yeah.
And you'll feel a lot better afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Amazing, man. Any other parting thoughts here? And any other things that you feel like, if you were talking to the, the first time Isaac, right?
Yeah.
Time travel back to literally you walking into your first store again, what are some pieces of advice that, whether it's a tactic, whether it's a mindset or a frame, like what is maybe one or two things that you might tell that first timer, maybe the first time, your version of you who came in for the first time, that would help you help that person, right, close that deal a little bit faster or better, knowing what you know now.
One thing and one thing only, Aaron. I would tell my old self this: forget about the residuals. Stop thinking about how much this account can make you and get better at your craft, at being a good customer service. Forget about the money and you'll scale.
Would you care to expand on that? I think that's a really, really, really powerful point. Yeah, expand on that. Give us some more detail around that.
For example, over time, over the past couple months, I've been thinking like, what is this about? Right? This is more than if you're doing the right thing and you believe in what you're doing and you see the impact on how it affects, other business owners, you help them out with their problem, you're going to receive in the end. You're going to receive residual. You're going to make that money. You're going to scale that portfolio. But just so you know, when you put first things first, the rest will come, right? And it's less anxiety for me too. Early on, I was so concerned about how much you make in revenue. Ooh, I gotta win them. It's not about that. It's about being a better person. It's about being able to solve their problem and be a better listener. We assume a lot of things, right? When business owners talk to you about their needs, you may think you know what they need, but you don't really know. Take the time to actually listen. You'll get what you want.
Yeah.
You'll be able to solve the problem.
And I think just one more note on that, I think that it's so important is think about it like this, right? I mean, any kind of heavily trafficked area is going to have other people trying to do exactly what you're doing. Like, in fact, I would say, you probably know this from experience, there's probably been a story that you walked in and they've just probably openly told you, hey, you're like person number blah, 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 who's called this week, this month, about the same exact thing. I said no to everybody else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen you before. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You'll
so
get that.
Exactly. And so you have to ask yourself, well, if you just, let's say you're an awesome salesperson, you knew exactly what to say to close that deal, and you close that literally on the spot, or maybe one day later or 2 days later, you just close it. You feel so good about, kind of what you did there. Well, let's say that there was no relationship really built. Let's say that they didn't really have a sense of like who you were as a person. They didn't feel like you actually listened to them. They just kind of like felt, okay, this person's offering a pretty good deal. I'll try this out. Let's go from there. What happens a month from now when that person is no longer talking to you or maybe even thinking about you, and somebody else walks in and says, hey, by the way, you're paying this much. What if we just cut that by 10%? Or
Yeah.
even that 10 basis points, right? 0.1%, 0.2%. Like, what's going to happen? Well, do you have faith? Do you have confidence that that relationship you have with that merchant is going to stand that test and pass that test? Because chances are it's probably not. And you might be so happy that you got this new deal closed, and before you get your first residual, they could have
Boom, they're out. Yeah.
Right. And that's why it goes back to exactly what you said there, which is keep the main thing, right? The main thing is building a relationship, right? The main thing is talking to that person like a person to person, understanding exactly what their needs are and showing them that you care enough to listen and give them exactly what they want, as best as you can, of course. And when people sense that, they're going to stick with you because they understand it's not just about the 0.1%, 0.2% difference between you and somebody else. It's, oh, I really trust Isaac. Isaac's a great guy. He's a solid guy, high character person that I know is going to take care of me and my business and my needs. And that relationship will stand the test of time. Whereas if you just came in and simply sold just on the benefits of the program, of the actual terminal and the percentage points, like that's not going to last very long. So.
Perfectly said. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, that hits it right on the nail. It's about the relationship, not about the deal. I've been in areas where I close them on the first day. They call me the next morning. Isaac, my husband, said no. Uh-oh, I didn't talk to the other decision maker. Mistake number one, right? You'll learn. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the residuals and the money and the ongoing bringing the income that you make from that is a byproduct of the relationship you have with the merchant, not the other way
Big.
around. Right? It's not, I close the store and then I develop the relationship over time. It's this relationship first, and then everything else that comes from that will actually be sustainable versus trying to come in and try to close immediately just for the money.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome, Isaac. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Amazing success that you've had with merchant services. Obviously, so much of it is just really due to you and your own proactiveness and your self-starter attitude. And I think, even if you're watching this right now, maybe you're thinking, oh, like I don't have the time to go out there and prospect and do what Isaac was doing, just kind of like randomly walk into shops and close deals. That's okay, right? We're not asking you to get the 12 machines in the next 30 days or something, but set aside, an hour or two a week, right, to walk into a store, just start up a conversation and see where that goes. Maybe a week later, a month later, they remember who you are. Say, hey, you're the credit card person, right? Like that stuff happens, like just like Isaac mentioned in his example, it really does happen. So don't think about it as how many. Wow, Isaac is so above everybody else, and he's man. I can never imagine closing 12 deals myself. It's really making sure that I understand everybody starts with the first, right? And once you get the first, the next will come. It's just a matter of the time and energy you want to put into it, right? That's ultimately up to you. But that's really the interview for today. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Not really. It's a privilege being here. I look forward to seeing you guys in the group and killing it and crushing it out there and growing your portfolio. All I got to say, guys, is that dreams work when you do. So get to work.
Thanks, man.